Well, once
All
again,
right.
everyone, welcome. Peggy, how is your Cinco de Mayo going?
It's just fabulous. How about yours?
It's going really, really quite well. It's been a great Tuesday, and for the most part, I'm pretty much remembering it's Tuesday, so that's a positive there.
That is, and me too.
I mean, this is like Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
Every day's the same day,
Yes, it
practically.
does seem that way, doesn't it?
It
And
does.
it's hard to believe that we're already 5 days into May.
I
I
know.
mean, it just is going really fast.
It really is. And it's also hard to believe that it's nearly 2 months since we've been social distancing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, we need to keep it going. We need to
we
keep it going
absolutely
for some
do.
time yet.
Absolutely do.
But on a different note, we're
Yeah,
here to talk about something a little bit more positive. Uh,
absolutely.
so, so if you haven't watched our series for the past couple of weeks, we spent some time talking about 6 different books, and they were books by personal development leaders. Bart had 3, and I had 3. John Maxwell, Brian Tracy, couple of authors that people might not know as well. And so now this week, what we're doing, and I guess we actually started on
Saturday.
Saturday.
Mhm.
Saturday. So this week, what we're doing is we're just talking about and reflecting back on what we learned about those from those different books, and impromptu
Mhm.
storytelling or demonstrating what we learned or how we have used those principles. Yeah. So you had a question for me on Saturday.
Yes, I did it.
Yeah. And today I get to ask you one.
Okay, I'm getting nervous. I'm getting scared now. So let's see what we can do.
Okay. And if you've listened to our stories and you have an answer that you want to share with us, please don't hesitate to put it in the chat. So here we go. Yeah.
Yes.
So I started off with John Maxwell's book of How Successful People Think.
Mhm.
And he gave us 11 categories of thinking that we kind of talked through. And one of those categories was to question popular thinking.
Mhm.
He said that popular thinking produces mediocre results. Yeah. So I actually have a 2-part question. I'm cheating just a tad.
Okay.
The first part of the question is, why do you think that is? That popular thinking produces mediocre results? And the second part of the question that I have would be, do you have something that you could share where you've either yourself or seen someone else question popular thinking and get a positive result from it?
Wow. That's a great, great question. For me, what that is saying is that successful people do what just regular people don't do. If the popular thinking for me means you're in your comfort zone, that's what we do. And I think back to growing up, and I'm sure in your household too, back when I was growing up, there were only 3 television stations to choose from: ABC, CBS, and
Right.
NBC. That's all we had.
We're dating ourselves now.
Yeah, we are. We are. I didn't say how young we. I mean, how old we were. We were really young. But anyway, um, but the point being, if you wanted to hear the news, there was only one specific point in
Right.
time. So everybody stopped what they were doing to hear what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
Today's world is so much different. The popular thing would be just keep doing your own thing and not pay a whole lot of attention to it. When you do that, you miss some real significant things. Successful people don't stop and just listen to the news. In fact, they turn off the news and turn off the noise. But what they do is that they know when something major is about to happen, or they know when a change is about to take place. And I think one of the best analogies is that the airplane takes off up against the wind, not with the wind. Because when you fly into it, that's where you're going to get your momentum of it coming and able to lift. The
Nice
same thing is
analogy.
true in life. The other thing is too, and it's something that I've really hit the reset button on since we've been doing this, and that is successful people read, and they read things that empower themselves. And as we learned from several of the authors we talked about, that, 3 to 5% of the people who actually read, write goals, set goals, follow through with those 3 to 5% are the 3 to 5% of people who are the most successful, who make the most money. And the other piece to it is, I think society really is built for the masses. They want us all to do the same thing. They want us to wait in line for 10 minutes at Chick-fil-A or at McDonald's or wherever it is that these lines are, because we believe, and the masses have told us, this is the very best. When I think if you really were to poll people and ask someone, no one makes fried chicken better than your mother, or what you have at home. So it's what you're willing to do for yourself. Now, where in my life has that happened? One of the things that happened, and it's something that took place back when I was in undergraduate school, when I was in college, and the head of the department, in the communications department I was in, told me, he said, I want you to realize something. He said, at your age, he said, you're going to embark upon a whole different world out there, and be prepared for it. Because right now people are telling you to get this degree, go find a job, work there 30, 35 years, get the watch, go home, sit on the sofa and get fat. So that's not going to happen. The get fat part happened, but the rest is not going to happen.
It didn't.
He said, prepare yourself to change careers 4 to 5 times in your adulthood. Prepare yourself to that. And I'll never forget Dr. Holland telling me that, because that right there, even though I started out in one career, the whole time I was there, I kept thinking, I know I'm not going to stay here because I've been told I'm not going to stay here. There's something better for me out there, and kept me working for it. And I had several people I went to school with, even some cousins of mine, they followed suit, and they're living a very happy life right now. They spent 30, 35 years at one corporation and retired from it, got the watch and went home. But that was a piece of advice, a nugget right there that was against what's taught to the masses, that got me to thinking.
All right. See, I told you, I knew you would come up with something profound. I absolutely knew you would. Yeah, I love the fact that your example of, changing the careers 4 and 5 times. I mean, truly, the younger people starting out now, right? They don't even consider what we started off with of one career,
right?
Because of the changing times, because there isn't any corporate loyalty, and they're just seem to be wired differently. Right. But let me go, I'll share my thoughts and then let you expand on them as well. So being fair, why do I think mediocre or popular thinking yields mediocre results? I think because it hints to what you said, right? It's comfort zone. There's safety in numbers. And if we're doing what everybody else is doing, we feel like we don't have to be accountable. We're not subject to criticism. We're not subject to judgment. We're moving together in a pack, like a herd, right? And it is comfortable. It's acceptable. It's acceptable. And we fear the judgment. We have a natural tendency to fear the judgment from other people, right? Because what we often don't recognize is we don't need other people's approval. This is our life. You have your life. Who am I to judge your life, right? But you have to recognize that you can't stop people from thinking. I don't care if you just move like a robot. They're still, if they want to find something to think about you, criticize you, judge you, they're gonna do it. So from my perspective, why not give them something big to talk about? You know, if they're going to talk about you, then give them something big, give them something worthwhile, and enjoy what you're doing, right? Enjoy what you're doing. And I think from my example, I had a couple of them. I had a little more time to think, so you know, it's unfair. But yours was a great example. From my perspective, from my personal experience, probably one of the first times that I stepped out against the commonly accepted was when I went to college, because my mother, God love her, she told me that I could be a secretary and that was enough for me. And I'm not dissing secretaries. And back in that day, you know, secretaries, they did a lot. They had to take shorthand. We typed on manual typewriters, you know, they did a lot of things. But I just wanted something more. And I didn't even know at age of 18, 19, I didn't even know what the heck it was I wanted, really. But I just knew that wasn't enough. So when I went to college, I put myself through college. And when I got to my senior year, I had always been a reasonably good student. Yeah. But because I had worked a full-time and a part-time job and had gone to school full-time, taking 15 credit hours, my grades were not where I wanted them to be. And I wanted to graduate with a certain grade point average. I wanted to be at least magna cum laude. That was just a standard I had for myself. So I calculated how many credit hours I needed in my last semester with what grade point average that I would need to hit it with in order to bring my grade point up to where I wanted it to be. Well, that turned out to be 26 semester credit hours.
Whoa.
So of course, you know, the school, the dean, you know, I went to registration and of course they stopped and said, you can't do this. And so I went and talked to the dean and, you know, he said, well, it's unheard of. You can't do it. You'll never make it. And I said, but if I do, what skin is it off of your back? Mm-hmm. Right. And if I sign up for them and I drop out, then I drop out. I said, as long as I'm not blocking somebody else who needs those credits, why can't I do it? So long story short, he allowed me. And he bet me $100. Yeah. He said he would give me $100. If I made it, he would give me $100. And if I didn't make it, I would have to give him $100. So I took the bet. And I had changed my major a few times. And so I actually had 3 majors that I could bring to fruition in that last semester. Mm-hmm. So I had calculus and I had business law and I had engineering courses. It is not something I would recommend people at all, because nobody was doing that, right? Nobody was doing it. But I have reaped the rewards many times over from having done that. And when I look back, you know, it was really, I just wasn't going to accept no. I just, you know, my grade point wasn't that bad, but being average just wasn't what I wanted. It just wasn't what I wanted. And I was willing to put forth the effort to do what it took. And I think I agree that is where average thinking, if you want to propel yourself truly into a place where you find your personal passion, your personal peace, your personal energy, you've got to focus on what's best for you, not what's best for the average out there, but what's best for you. And of course, we know that in my personal adult life, I challenged popular thinking in a major way. In a major way, which has also turned out well because I've been with my husband for over 30 years.
And got a beautiful family and grandkid.
I do. Yeah.
That's an amazing story. You hit something really that was like a real aha for me, and that was that word of acceptable and what's acceptable to you, and you knowing it for yourself. As you were talking, I thought, wow, you know, I have to bring him up because you know him well, and I know him calling my brother Rudy up in New York. He and I talked today, and we'll have him on the call. And Rudy, if you're listening, you know how much I love you, my brother. You really are an incredible young man. His family's trying to come over here from Cameroon, Africa, and he's going through doing all kinds of research right now for the coronavirus and supporting the hospitals there, and just a genius of a young man. And told me he's going to work on his PhD probably. And I got to listen to him talk. And when you're talking about what the acceptable, normal societal thing would be, many people would tell you, well, you know what, this is not the time to really go to school, to try something new there, because we don't know when schools are going to reopen and what colleges will be like or whatever. But here's what I learned talking to him. Now he's finished up his master's, going for his PhD. Because of what's going on, he doesn't have to take the GRE.
Wow.
That was my response. You and I did it.
That's major.
That's major. You and I did it. Had to do it.
That is absolutely.
And I got to think about it. I thought that's right, because standardized testing is done in a controlled environment.
It is, and they can't be there.
It can't be there.
Yeah.
But then the other side of that coin too, of, oh wow, is this just like what we're doing here from home these last 8 weeks? It puts the question out there, do you really need that type of testing to say this is emphatically an indicator of someone's success?
Yeah, absolutely. There are a lot of people that don't test well on those kind of things.
That's right.
For sure.
And so I'm looking at him, and here he is, got all this stuff on his plate, but he still sees one little piece over here of an opportunity. And maybe this is the right time to take that.
Yeah. And
that's where successful people just see things differently.
They do.
One of my favorite quotes, they always ask, is the glass half full or is the glass half empty? And there's a quote out there that it doesn't matter if the glass is half full or the glass is half empty. What matters is who's pouring the water.
I love that quote. That's really great. And I used to, in this same vein, I used to tell my kids as they were growing up, I always tried to encourage them to explore whatever they had a mind to want to explore, right? Because you never know until you try.
Right.
You'll find out what you really love and have a passion for when you try different things. Right. And I used to tell them, dare to be different. Mm-hmm. Dare to be different. And for children, that's really scary, mm-hmm. especially as teenagers.
Right.
Because kids are so judgmental at that age, because they're all scrambling, trying to figure out who they are, right. and be something special. And they're so insecure in their relationships and in themselves, mm-hmm. right? Because they're growing. But I used to tell them all the time, dare to be different, dare to step away from what everybody else thinks about and what everybody else is doing, mm-hmm. and do what is important to you. Do what means something to you. That's right. And in their own way, each of them did. Mm-hmm. Each of them did in their own way. And I would encourage anybody, if you're watching us today, there were 11 categories of thinking that John Maxwell talked us through, but I think one of the most critical to get your wheels rolling, mm-hmm. to get you some momentum going, is you really have to be willing to say, I'm not going to have the distractions. I'm not going to pay attention to what people expect or judge. Mm-hmm. I'm going to apply my opportunity thinking, my possibility thinking. I'm going to look at myself and what my desires are, what my skills are, what my strengths are, and find what is best for me. And if you have a family, of course, I know you'll be considering you and your family, mm-hmm. but not until you're willing to do that, mm-hmm. are you really gonna find enough to propel you. I think that was one of the critical things.
Yeah, I love that. And going back to what they all teach, and that is you do need to spend some time every day. And the rule of thumb is at least 30 minutes every day,
Yeah.
reading or doing something of personal empowerment, whether it's listening to a podcast, watching something on YouTube, reading something, because the people that we know and the people that you and I now currently work with, who came from the projects, who had absolutely no reason to be successful, and that they are incredibly, incredibly successful. And as they say, it doesn't matter whether you went to Yale or you went to jail, you can be successful.
That's right.
And everyone, every single one has one thing in common, and that is they work harder on themselves. You know, I loved what Mr. Peter Hirsch said this morning about, you work harder on yourself, work on fixing yourself rather than fixing others.
Yep. And it is work. It
It is hard work.
And it takes conscious work.
Yes.
But if you really want to achieve the best for yourself,
Right.
and that will ripple to the best for the people around you, because you'll be a better you, right? You have to work at it. It takes conscious effort. But you know what'll happen when and you know it, I know it, but maybe some of the folks who are watching have not gotten to this point. But I promise you, I absolutely promise you that as you embark upon this journey, if you dare to take a step and work more on yourself, it will ultimately consume you. It will not feel like work.
That's
You
right.
won't be able to wait until you can immerse yourself into more information and more knowledge and learn more and apply more. And you will become better at analyzing and taking another step and being able to minimize the risk and recognize the best choice. It's just an overwhelming journey. And I would encourage anybody watching, start yours today.
Absolutely.
Start yours today.
One of the critical things is when you're on that journey and you're getting so much better, guess what? You're going to make the mistakes. You're going to have pitfalls. You're going to have
Absolutely.
stumbling, but you're going to know that that's just one piece of a lesson that gets you to the next part.
That's right.
You know,
That's right.
and
But don't be
that's-
afraid to fail.
That's exactly right.
Fail through it.
If Simone Biles was afraid she was going to fall off that pommel horse, she would never gotten on it.
Exactly, right?
I won't get on one, but
No,
she
me
did. But she did. But
She
that's
did.
because you have to know for yourself who you are, where you are, and where you're headed next.
Yep.
I think that's it.
Yep.
Peggy, this has been awesome. I love these
It has.
unscripted, good questions. So, guys, let me put up our schedule. We're going to come back again on Thursday. Here it comes. We're going to be back here on Thursday at the same time. And I'm going to have a question for Peggy this time, and then we'll be back here on Saturday and next Tuesday. And by then we'll unveil for you what we're going to do in the next series. And we've got some people already lined up that we're asking to be some of our guests, to have more than just a two-way dialogue, a three-way, four-way dialogue, perhaps, and get some things going. Final thoughts, Peggy, on your part, the baby steps we got to get to building a better you.
Well, they are the baby steps. And again, today, the first one is you have to want it. You have to be willing to leave the average thinking and focus on where you want to go. I do want to give a shout out to Latoya and Ryan who are watching. Thank you for joining us today, everyone. Use this time productively for you, right? If you make yourself better, you will be happier, you'll be more contented, you'll be more successful, your relationships will be better, everything will improve for you.
Absolutely. And I want to shout out to Lakeisha and Kimberly for also joining us. And everyone, go out and make it an incredible Cinco de Mayo. That's all the Spanish I know, but it's the most important Spanish to know is that today is that day. So go out and enjoy the day. Peggy, I look forward to seeing you on Thursday. Go for it.
Oh, I forgot one other thing. Not only is it Cinco de Mayo, but I got to give a shout out to all the teachers.
That's
Today's
right.
Teacher Appreciation Day.
And you've
God
got
bless
a very important, powerful, really creative and accomplished teacher in your life, do you not?
I do. My daughter, Rebecca, is a
Yes, she
teacher.
is.
Yes,
Yes.
she is. And God love all the teachers.
Mhm.
Parents, you may think you have your hands full, but trust me, teachers are going through this current situation and their burden has doubled
Yes.
of trying to give your children a quality education remotely outside the classroom, especially for the lower grade children that need that more day-to-day personal interaction. So give a shout out to all your teachers and God bless you all teachers for sure.
In fact, I want to pose to everyone watching, think right now, what teacher influenced you the most in your life? And what are you doing in your life to replicate that for someone else?
Oh, that's good. I love that. I love that. I'll take that challenge.
Okay, very cool. See you on Thursday. Please come back and
Yep.
join us same time, same channel. Till then, everyone have an amazing day.
Thank
Bye
you.
now.
Bye, guys.